All right, picture this. You wake up, grab your coffee, check the news. Boom! Elon Musk has been put in charge of the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. Overnight, Washington isn't Washington anymore. It's a startup. Now, and just like that, big changes start rolling out. First order of business, a mass buyout for federal employees. Leave now with a check or stay and embrace the new hardcore work culture. Next, USAID is shut down, foreign aid gone. Musk calls it a waste of taxpayer money. Then, Social Security, Medicare, and SNAP get a radical efficiency overhaul. Some people cheer. Finally, a leaner, more efficient government. Others panic. What happens to the people caught in the crossfire? Now, I'm not saying this will all happen, but if Musk-style efficiency takes hold in the government, where does it lead? And to really explore this, I'm going to share some personal stories, things I've seen firsthand about government overreach, unintended consequences, and what happens when big ideas collide with real people's lives. Hey, if this topic has you thinking already and you like honest, balanced discussions about big issues, do me a personal favor. It doesn't cost anything. It's just kind. Hit that like button so more people can join this conversation. You're always welcome to drop a comment below. I love to hear your take. And for more deep dives and extra research, check out oldguyinsights.me. That's me. I'll post more details, sources, and updates there. I'll put a link to my source document for you in the description. All right, let's dive in. Now, I think it's important to think about this stuff, not in a sky is falling, everything is doomed kind of way, but in a, let's examine this logically with a level head. Radical changes always sound great on the surface. Cut waste, make things run smoother. But what happens when those changes suddenly impact your life? Most of us assume big disruptions will happen to other people, not us. Other people might lose their Social Security. Other people might struggle to get a passport or Medicare benefits. That's human nature. Our brains are wired that way. Well, here's a personal story of unintended consequences of government regulation. Years ago, I worked in consumer debt relief, helping regulators root out scammers who preyed on people in financial trouble. Eventually, the government stepped in, and I got a call from a regulator friend of mine that I'd worked closely with. He said, "Steve, we're about to pass some new laws, and I need to tell you something. No matter how well we write these, people like you who are actually helping, you're going to get caught in the crossfire." He was right. When changes are made with a broad brush, and while they shut down bad actors, they also make it harder for legitimate people to provide help. That was a lesson I learned firsthand. When government moves fast, even with good intentions, unintended consequences are inevitable and can wind up hurting more people than they help. So let's think about what Musk's management style is and what he brings to the job. But before we dive in, let me be totally upfront. I own 2 Teslas, and I love them. I'm a fan of what Musk has done in the private sector, and I think he's probably a genius. SpaceX revolutionized space travel. Tesla pushed electric vehicles mainstream, and Starlink, it's bringing internet to places that never had it. The man is brilliant at disrupting industries, but that doesn't necessarily mean he should run government, because leading a private company and leading a country are 2 very different things. So let's take a real honest look at what a Muskified government might look like: the good, the bad, and the unpredictable. Now, we shouldn't be surprised if Musk brings his signature leadership style into government, because he's been wildly consistent across his companies. I mean, he moves fast and he breaks things. Musk fired 80% of Twitter's workforce overnight. Entire departments gone. Tesla and SpaceX employees describe constant pressure to work extreme hours or risk being fired. And would we expect anything different from government under Musk? We should expect maximum commitment or leave. Musk has a survival of the fittest mentality. He famously told Twitter employees to commit to being extremely hardcore or take a severance package. Now imagine that same approach in the federal government. He's anti-regulation and anti-bureaucracy. He hates regulations. He moved Tesla's headquarters from California to Texas to escape state labor laws. And his philosophy, government should get out of the way and let the smartest people innovate. So if Musk runs government, expect massive job cuts, extreme expectations on those who stay, and elimination of what he sees as red tape. Now, to be fair, some of Musk's core principles aren't bad ideas. Streamlining bureaucracy. Many agencies do have inefficiencies and outdated processes. Could Musk's approach force government to modernize? Faster innovation. Agencies like NASA already worked with SpaceX because Musk's companies get things done faster than traditional contractors. And potential cost savings. Could some government programs be run more efficiently? Well, if applied carefully, some efficiency measures could be a win. But the key word here is carefully, because when changes happen too fast, things break. And we need to think about oversight. Who's watching? Musk likes to move fast, but should a government leader be able to do that without any accountability? That's a real concern. If you're comfortable with Musk's actions today, are you also okay with actions that appear to be outside the rules or the law? Who has access to sensitive government data? Where is that data going? If Congress isn't involved in these decisions, who is? A government is supposed to operate with checks and balances, especially when handling national security, public funds, and personal data. If we start governing by billionaire directive, do we lose that transparency that democracy depends on? I lived in Lagos, Nigeria, while my dad worked with USAID when I was a kid. I watched him help the Nigerian government find resources, build stability, and develop universities and schools. People saw the work being done, and they knew this was the good work of the United States government. We lived through wars and coups and instability. But because USAID was there, we always had a direct connection to the local government. Now, has USAID lost focus over the years? Probably. Like any big agency, it can always benefit from some reform, but its core mission to help developing countries build a future was and still is a good idea. If we're going to fix it, let's reform it properly and not just eliminate it over a weekend. Now, we should also talk about Social Security and retirement. Can Americans handle a DIY future? Let's talk numbers. Right now, we know that between 31 and 40% of Americans have $0 saved for retirement. If Musk's plan is for people to save on their own, we have to ask, is that realistic? Some argue privatizing Social Security could actually be a good thing. Private retirement accounts could offer higher returns. Some countries like Chile have experimented with privatization with mixed results. Could we reform Social Security without scrapping it entirely? I once spoke to a college class about this. One student said, "We need to cut benefits to save government money." So I asked him, "Okay, and where do we stack our now homeless elderly?" He just stared at me and he said, "I don't know. I hadn't considered that." Every action has a consequence, and we need to think these things through before we just leap and take action. We don't want to be a shoot, aim type of country. At the end of the day, this is all a thought experiment, just thinking these things through, just talking out loud. Radical change always sounds great until it hits you or your parents. Some of Musk's ideas could make government better, others can cause unnecessary chaos. So, what do you think? Is Musk's efficiency driven vision for government something we should embrace? Or do the risks outweigh the rewards? Hey, maybe the real answer lies somewhere in the middle. Don't leave without sharing your perspective. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Do you think Musk's approach to government would work? Would it help? Would it hurt? Drop a comment. I read them all. Hit like and subscribe if you want more discussions like this. And for extra research and show notes, visit oldguyinsights.me. That's me. I'll leave a link to the post in the description. And as always, stay awesome, be kind to each other, and always do good things. See ya.